Oh yeah, baby. Woo! Welcome back to Weebs and Weights, the podcast. Special guest once again, Chuck. Olympic bound, baby.
Yeah, it's
Olympic bound, man. Let's go. This tour of Europe, I want to hear about it. I want to know everything. The beginning, the end, how excited you were. Did you even realize it happened when you were out there? You know?
so yeah, um to qualify for the Olympics in different sports, there's different criteria. So sometimes you'd have to win a specific tournament or you'd have to be ranked in a certain position. For track and field, you have two ways to qualify. You either hit the automatic standard, which for shot put is 21 meters 10. That's about 69 feet 2 inches with a 16-pound ball, or be ranked top 32 in the world. So I satisfied both criteria. That was like in July of 2019. And because of COVID, they count qualifications from then too. They just kind of
Okay.
froze the period. I think the freeze the period that they froze it was from April to November 2020. And that's because different regions of the world have different opportunities to have track meets because of COVID. So some places COVID basically didn't happen, and some places everyone's locked down.
Right.
So so long story short, everything from 2019 counts. So my automatic qualification, I threw 2180 in 2019. That counts for my qualification to the Olympics. And I'd been ranked top 10 for the past like 5 years anyway. So I felt pretty comfortable about qualifying. And then going to Nigeria last week of June was just kind of the final stamp and winning trials that kind
Okay.
of solidified my spot on the Olympic team.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And then from Nigeria, you went to Europe, right? And you had a couple other comps right after that.
Yeah, so
Right.
I came
So
back for like 2 weeks, and I, travel's been crazy. So I came back for 2 weeks. I'm working out at Purdue, working out at West Lafayette High School where I coach, and basically I wanted to get some training, familiar facilities, get back with my coach,
mhm.
food that I'm used to, and also I was a little bit homesick being away for like a week and a half, and I did miss a week of training. So I came back to the U.S., got like 2 weeks of training, just to get back on the plane to head to Poland and Hungary. So it was hard mentally and physically. Truth be told, I didn't want to go,
Right.
but and I also have a lot of obligations as far as the Olympics go too. So I was going to go to Poland, and in what we do, 21 meters and above is kind of an elite throw.
Mhm.
That's kind of it's not really the end goal, but it's like if you throw 21, that's like you did something decent. So I went to Poland and I threw 21:11, got third place. And these are huge meets. Like track meets are labeled A, B, C, or D, literally based on the rank. So
Okay.
the level of performance, the prize money, everything, the caliber of athletes there. So third at an A meet is not bad at all. And 21 meters 11, can't complain too much. Got off the plane like 2 days prior. And then through didn't have any time to practice, had to get on a plane, head to Hungary the next day. So in Hungary, I got a couple of training sessions. They were not good. I was starting to feel the fatigue. The jet lag for me kind of sets in, not immediately, but like the longer I stay,
Okay.
there's kind of a period where I go down and my body realizes something's wrong. So when I was in Hungary, that kind of started to kick in. So throwing was crap, lifting was hard. I was just dragging. Then the meet finally happened. I think it was like 5 days after the Poland meet, and I had the best series of my life. Every throw was over 21 meters. The opening throw was 21:26. Next throw was 21:20, then 21:43, then 21:41, and then I fouled the 21, and then the 21:14 to finish.
Okay.
So just a great series that 70 feet repeatedly.
Mhm.
So it shows the kind of shape that I was in, and I was just really happy because I'm kind of in charge of my own strength and conditioning right now, and
Right.
I'm writing my own programming. So having a meet like that kind of lets me know that I know what I'm doing. So did that, headed back to the States for the same idea, just go back home. I don't like the idea of doing like training camps and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
be where I'm familiar, and so came back, and now time's almost up. next week I head out to Tokyo.
Okay. So how long are you going to Tokyo early to kind of like get rid of that jet lag and kind of let yourself recover a little bit, or are you kind of hoping to hit there and be like, okay, my body knows that it's happening again, and I'm just gonna go and go, like
That's a big part of it. Yeah, getting rid of the jet lag, just get used to the facilities,
mm,
get used to just just being out in Asia is totally different than being in Europe, and
right.
definitely different from being at home. Last time I went was 2019 in Qatar, and
Okay.
that was just the climate and everything is totally different, and our bodies are so smart. We know that,
Yeah.
and to get rid of that shock, you want to be there like at least a week, week and a half before. Do some camps nearby or on the site if you can. So that's kind of the idea. So I'll
So-
get there on the 22nd, and then
Okay.
competition's not till the 3rd of August.
Okay. Do you have um do you have any other like teammates from Nigeria coming up at the same time? Who else is going for track and field stuff? Do you guys have a big track and field team going? Like, do you guys have a lot of spots or?
It's not a big team.
Yeah.
We have a couple of relays. We have a women's 4x1. Um, we have a mixed relay. So now they're doing 2 men, 2 women on a relay.
Okay.
And our people qualify for that. One of my buddies, Chidi Okezi, is on it. Cece Enekwechi is going in the women's discus.
Okay.
She's a Big Ten alum, went to Maryland. Um, Annette Echukwu is going from Cincinnati.
Nice.
So some of my friends from the NCAA representing Nigeria, like we always get together for these track meets. So
Yeah, yeah.
we're gonna see them. It's gonna be a party in Tokyo.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, and this is so I have a buddy of mine, Jackson. He does like dietary work and he's working on his PhD for nutrition, sport and clinical stuff like that. He actually just moved to Bali. But he is obsessed with Japan, everything Japan also, and he keeps getting the question like, why didn't you move to Japan? And for him, and he's very much on like body composition, bodybuilding, kind of getting that anime physique thing, right?
Yeah.
And so his big thing was I didn't go to Japan because of the diet. He's like, it's really hard to get like lean meats. It's really hard to get, like carbs are easy because they have rice. That's that's a very easy thing. That's very, high glycemic index. It's really good for athletes,
Mhm.
especially for what we do. Like, do you have a plan
Oh yeah.
going into that for diet and stuff like that? Are you partnered up with anybody shipping you out frozen meals so you're ready to go? Like, what's your?
Well, I wish that was the case, but normally at these meets they'll have like a food court, like a dining court for everybody, and
Hmm.
the food is bland on purpose, and you never know who's coming from where and what their preferences might be. So we're us athletes, and it doesn't matter if it's me, it's Usain Bolt, it could be Simone Biles. We're all used to like crappy food at these huge meets,
Yeah,
so that's what we're gonna see. Like
insider
from
look.
yeah, from the very top to the very bottom, we all know what it is. I heard I didn't make Rio, but I heard Rio's food was absolute trash for
Really?
a while. Yeah, and then people
Wow.
complained and they fixed it up. So
Okay.
Tokyo, we're expecting that. And but back to like the quality as far as nutrition. Normally they cover all categories, so that you can find a lot of options. You can find some healthy food at those bigger meets. So that's one thing they're good at. Like, you're
Okay.
not really going to enjoy the food, but it's definitely something that's conducive to athletic performance.
Okay. All right. So let's take a big jump back, and this might be straining for both of us at this point. Myself and a bunch of people that do weightlifting stuff included, like competitions going out the window with COVID. This happened with you also. The Olympics got pushed back. A lot of your comps got pushed back. Training got screwed up. I remember like we were talking. I think we called each other at one point. And you were literally like doing like the full stretch out push ups on your floor because you were just getting stuff done. Like how like
Yeah.
what was that whole transition like for you? Like, there's got to be obviously there's a bunch of challenges, right? And we could start with just training stuff if you want to, and we can get into that because obviously there's a mental side of it, all that kind of stuff. But for training and COVID and with lockdown, like how did that affect you? And what did you like kind of take for adjustments and
Yeah. Well, 2020 was awful, god awful. Let me just start with that.
yeah.
That's something we can all agree on. Doesn't matter where you're from. Everything was wrong with 2020. The
Mhm.
worst. All my plans went out the window. Now, I will say one thing. I was hurt, and I still am dealing with that same hip injury that I
Okay.
referred to. I'm still dealing with it, but now I have it pretty much under control. 2020 was really bad. So I think I benefited from the that extra year or so to kind of figure out what I need to change as far as training and just my body in general. But as far as plans, they went out the window. I was training at West Lafayette High School for the sole reason that nobody would be there.
Hmm.
And I'm the coach there, so the head coach gave me a key, and I would go out there by myself because, that was when social distancing was huge.
Right.
Masking, you didn't know what was what. We were all scared to death. It doesn't
Right.
matter politically how you look. Like, we were all scared to death about it. So I was there by myself. I'd set my little iPhone up on the bleachers and take throws and try to analyze them. They weren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Like it was a bad situation. I lift even till today on Purdue's campus, and campus was locked down just a couple weeks into the big outbreak in March. So what I did was I lifted at the co-rec for a little bit. That got locked down, and then my girlfriend's dad went to the school that he coaches at
Mhm.
and just asked around, got approval, and actually donated a barbell, trap bar, um, about 600 pounds worth of plates, couple sets of dumbbells, and we just put that in our apartment. And I'm lifting in the second bedroom, so I'm doing floor press with 500 pounds, and she's spotting me. I mean, it was the most ghetto, gritty thing
Yeah.
I've ever
Throwback.
had to
Yeah.
do. Yeah, and I don't have many videos from it because like you really don't want to post that. It's like it looks so ghetto, but at the
Yeah.
same time, I think it was a really a good bonding experience first of all, and it was just character building because at that point either you quit and it's totally understandable, or you keep grinding and just hope that stuff opens back up.
Right.
So did the latter. But yeah, as far as competitions, I wound up going 11 months without a single comp. So when I came back in January, after we were locked out for about 9 weeks because we had a little bit of an outbreak in November, I was throwing like mid 20s. Like I wasn't used to competing, but that was the whole point because you have to practice competition. That's
Right.
weightlifting and wrestling. It doesn't matter. Like you have to practice competing. So I jumped into that meet knowing that I wasn't expecting that much, and then got that over with. And after that, it was just almost back to normal.
Right.
So, but that 2020 was a hard period. No comps, and then y- social media is also a form of currency,
Mhm.
and at that point because
That's a
nothing was
great way to
going
put it.
on.
That's a great way to put
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
you get so much of a benefit from it, and because
Yeah.
nothing was going on, it's like you miss that outlet, and it's like it was almost like a dead period.
Hmm.
And you just even now, I think people once you see each other nowadays because of so much social isolation, like we get super excited
Oh yeah.
because we were deprived for so long. So deprived from competition, deprived from the instant gratification of just likes and comments and
Hmm. Hmm.
conversation and stuff like that. So I went through it. I wouldn't say depressed, but like because that's a pretty heavy word.
Yeah.
But I think I got pretty close to that in that COVID period.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's actually a perfect transition. Let's talk about the mental on that one. I mean, motivation. I mean, like, what was like when this all happened and you heard Tokyo pushed back, maybe canceled? I mean, because that was a talk at the beginning. Remember, they were like, "Listen,
Yeah,
we don't know what's going to happen. This might never happen, and we might have to just go to the next one." Like what was that whole? Because I mean, like even when I was out at Purdue and we met and we started talking, and I'm like, I mean, we were training in the same time. Like,
sure.
I mean, just me looking over and being like, this guy doesn't need anybody in his corner. Like you have
I
people in your
appreciate
corner, but
it.
you don't. Like you never had, and I think it's rare. And I've said this to some other people. Like they ask, "Oh, how did you do this?" It's like one of the biggest things that you, as far as I know, and myself, like going and training. I've never needed the motivation for it. Like when I started, maybe right,
Yeah,
but when something like that happens and like it feels like almost everything that kind of defines everything you've been doing for the past 10 years, 20 years
yeah.
is almost stripped from you. And I don't want to sound, I mean, I'm making this sound way darker than it is, but I mean,
No, but
like,
that's the reality of it.
yeah, like
Yeah.
what was that like? Like, how did that affect you? Did you turn to your girlfriend? Did you turn to your parents, like other coaches and be like, hey, what do I need to do right now to stop myself from going down this hole? And like, like what was that whole situation?
Yeah, well, so yeah, I definitely turned to my girlfriend for support. She was going through a hard time also, just with everything. She had to work from home and
Hmm.
just things that we weren't used to. So she was having a hard time. I was having a hard time. I was the God's honest truth. I was going to quit.
Really?
I was yes, I was absolutely going to quit. And I reached out to other people. I reached out to Ryan Shane. I reached out to my buddy Coy in Ohio. Just like I asked people, like if it's worth it. And normally I got like, hey, just stay the course, things like that. I don't think a lot of people understood how close I was to quitting,
Yeah.
but like I was going to be done with it just because, first of all, physically I'm hurting. Um, and this, like it hurts worse if you get no feedback. Like if the ball's not going far, then it hurts worse. If the ball's
Hmm.
going far, then you're okay.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, because we talk like you're sore 7 days a week, that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if you're getting lifts, then it's like, all right, whatever. We just on to the next one. So I wasn't getting that feedback, that encouragement. And I even said this to myself yesterday when I was lifting, like the idea of the Olympics or whatever goal it is, sometimes it's the trials, sometimes it's national, sometimes it's the area championships, age group championships, like that will get you out of bed, into the shower, into the car, and into a weight room,
Yeah.
like period. Because I did 2 hours of driving. I practiced in Indianapolis, came back, and then I was like, crap, do I have enough energy to lift? And then before I knew it, I was in the training room getting ice for after the lift.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Just getting ready.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like it will drag you in there,
Hmm.
and that motivation, it's so raw, and like the people that made it, the people that didn't make it, they know that struggle for 4 or 5 years, 10 years, like it's a struggle, but it's something that constantly tugs at you, like it pulls you along. And kind of to your point, that was missing in 2020, and it was going to be missing. Basically, it was going to be a vacuum. So all the work you did from the last Olympic cycle or 2 Olympic cycles ago goes in the trash because anything can happen in the next 4 years. So that was going through my head, especially as a 28-year-old. Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
if I miss this one, maybe that's kind of it. Maybe I have this cool career where I have a national record and I've thrown 70 feet and I have this African championship, world championship finals, no Olympics. And that idea just like beat me over the head
Yeah.
repeatedly. And I think besides the physical pain that I was in at the time, I think that's what I had a hard time facing. That like that would be the one thing off my bucket list, and it was honestly one of the first things on my bucket list because my high school coach told me like, and he passed away in January 2020, which was again
Oh,
part
I'm
of
so
the
sorry. I didn't know that.
yeah, that was pretty difficult. But yeah, he passed away in January 2020. But in high school, when I wasn't even throwing the shot put like to get a scholarship or anything. I was throwing the hammer,
Right.
and he's like, "You're going to the Olympics. Just get me a ticket." So I was like, "All right, well, let's put that on the list." I didn't believe it, but I'm just like, "All right, Joe, like we'll do that." So that was one of the first things on my bucket list, and with the idea of it being canceled, I was like, what now?
Yeah.
So that mentally, it was just the hardest thing I had to face. And just reading the news, because we don't get any inside information either. Like
Right.
what
Right.
is what I know is what they know on the street. Like we just read it off newspapers, off the internet. So they're talking about, yeah, it's gonna go on, it must go on, it must go on. Boom, it's canceled.
Yep.
And it was the biggest. It wasn't even a gut punch. It was like lower than the gut punch. It was
Yeah.
a straight nut shot. Like the worst. We were blindsided because I remember practicing all the way up to June,
Hmm.
and the games were supposed to start in July. So they dragged that thing on as long as they could. And it's not their fault, but that's just kind of what happened to us.
Yeah.
So mentally, I think it was the hardest thing that I had to deal with just as an athlete and as a person.
Okay. So now, how did that? So once you kind of like got that advice and you got into it and you were like, okay, you're situated again. Obviously, you had the home gym. You were lucky enough to be able to get some plates and get a barbell and get some stuff going and stuff like that. Able to take a step back, go back to the basics. Obviously, that helped. You know,
Yeah.
um, what positives come out of this? Like, what positives did you get coming out of? I guess the closest thing to hell that most people have ever experienced. You know what I mean? Like, what did you trudging through all this and going through and knowing this and coach has got this ticket, you got that chair for him, like all these things waiting for you, all of us waiting to see what can happen and what you're gonna do, right? And
Mhm.
does that just light the fire back under your ass again and be like, yeah, maybe I don't have everything, but I still got this. Like, let's, like
That
what were the positives that you can pull out of that? Like, what did you get? You
and
know?
that's exactly what it is. Even getting started back up. So when Purdue finally opened up, I was out practicing and stuff. We had some training sessions in um, around September, and the ball really wasn't going, but I was getting through practice.
Mhm.
I was getting through practice for weeks, months, and coming out of COVID was the first time I basically did some general preparation work. I've kind of gotten away from that in the past couple years, just being a professional and stuff. I just kind of pick up where I left off. And in track, we have a really short off season anyway.
Mhm. Mhm.
But with all the long layoff, I got back to doing some body weight circuits and the high volume lifting and just things that I kind of took for granted as a professional. And I think that that paid dividends because I increased my muscle mass by quite a bit. Body composition was improved, and my lifts went through the window. The only thing I can't do is deep squat super heavy, but super heavy for me is not super heavy for other people. So, like 700 pounds is fine at this point. You know what I mean? But
I was waiting for I was waiting for the right moment to drop something like that because you said the
I,
600 pounds thing, and I was gonna say something, and you started saying the floor press. And I was like, I'll wait until something else comes up. That's
yeah,
so funny.
and I know, like everyone has different skill sets and stuff. So sometimes I have to like put the disclaimer out, like I know that I'm different than this person. This is different than that person, but yeah, but that's the only thing that I can't do currently, which I don't need to because I can do some partial lifts to take the place of that. But I mean, back to the main point, like I started doing some general stuff, sled walks, things like that, they seem mundane, but they
Mhm.
build a foundation for the rest of your career or the rest of your season at least. So that was one thing. It kind of humbled me back and brought me back to the fundamentals.
Right.
And that's something I'll do every single year going forward because it's so beneficial. I think just laziness is why I got away from it. So COVID kind of slapped me across the head and said, "Hey, you got to do the groundwork, and then it'll pay off." That's one thing. The other thing is just kind of corny, but like, don't give up because like I could easily not be going to the games right now.
Mhm.
And I was as certain as I was that I wanted to be done with it in the summer of 2020. That could have just ended my Olympic dream, and now I'm going there and hoping to do well. Just I'm in a good spot in the world. I'm in a good spot. Just in general, professionally, I'm in a good spot, and I could have not been here doing that. If I just listened to the demons in the back of my head, like, oh, it hurts and it's not worth it, and you can't lift anywhere, and you can't this. So that's one thing. Like, never give up because you never know. Just like just holding on for a little bit longer might open up some more doors for you.
Right.
So as corny as that was, it's the truth.
No, I
So,
mean, it's funny because you always see like those like the memes you see that are always like, they were this close to digging to find the diamonds, and you turn around, you know what I mean?
and they
Like, and
turn back.
as corny as it is, yeah, right. But like, living proof, right here, living proof. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and even if it's just like that 1 kilo on if you're snatching 60 kilos and now you're snatching 61, you finally get it. It took you 10 years. That's a fucking win, right? Like,
Right, absolutely.
so it's tough, man. So I mean, so would you tell people like if to take that dedicated time to take a step back and do that GPP stuff again? Because I was gonna say
Mhm.
I was waiting for the right moment to talk about this too, but like you look leaner and not in a bad way. Like you look like you said like your body comp got better, right? And I was gonna say I
Mhm.
was like you don't look like you look. How do I put this without people being like he said he's small because that's not the issue, right? Like you look definitely like how you have a better body comp, and that's something that I've
Mhm.
been working on recently too. Is I did the exact same thing. I took a step back, and I'm doing like
Yep.
old school style GPP and bodybuilding,
Yeah.
and I'm just like
Yeah.
I need to take a step away sometimes. Like you just need it, you know?
There's a place for that for everybody, I think. Just
Yeah,
general health. And yeah, that I think COVID is what made me go back to that. Otherwise, I probably would just continued on the same path of just doing what you need to do.
yeah,
Don't do what the groundwork. So
right.
yeah.
Okay, and obviously it paid dividends. I mean, you saw that past your throw 21, 21, 5, 21, 8, 21, 2, 20, I mean,
Yeah,
like, and that's
yeah, that's
after taking how many months off? You said 9 months of no comps and then like getting a
mhm,
couple under the belt and then going out. Like that's, I mean, the recovery aspect of it probably helped a little bit too, right? I mean,
sure,
like volume isn't as hurtful to joints and stuff like that. It's more soft tissue stuff, but that's something that like
absolutely.
you kind of love. You know what I mean? Like you love that pump, the soreness. Like you're like, I get this again. So
Yep, yep, yep.
yeah. So and it's funny you say that because there's been a lot of actually talk, and there's a couple questions about this. So this kind of might answer. We'll get rid of some of those, but
Sure.
some people were talking about how they were, like they feel like they've stagnated. They feel like they're not getting better. They feel like like their throws aren't getting better, even though they get all this technical help from these teams and all these other things. And it's like, well, when was the last time that you took a step back and were able to do just the basics?
Hmm.
And there's a lot of talk about like the more elite you are and the higher your training age and the more developed you are, sometimes you need to have more specified training cycles where with a lot of these young athletes that come in at the college level, I mean, you see it, you still help out at Purdue, right? You get a lot of throwers and
Hmm.
stuff that come in and it's like you probably have never even looked at a barbell in your life, have you? And so you could do whatever the hell you want with them and they're going to get better.
Hmm.
But somebody
Right.
like yourself who's been training their ass off for so long, you need 3 months of X, 3 months of Y, 3 months of Z, and then peak into something.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it takes, for some reason, a pandemic for all of us to realize that. I don't know why, but
Living proof.
that's it, baby. That's it. So Tokyo, next couple weeks. You already talked about you're leaving soon.
Hmm.
What's the training program look like right now for you? I mean, you don't have to give away all the secrets. You just
Yeah, yeah.
little sprinkle on top. What
So,
what's the peak looking for? Like, have you taken a step back? Are you doing a little bit of some volume right now, just recovery? Are you just going right into a peaking phase? Like, what's happening? Tell us.
so yeah. So for right now, we're getting rid of the heavy lifting. So this is going to be the last week of really going after it, 80% in the weight room and the different power lifts. We're also coupling that with French contrast. So there's going to be a heavy lift at about 80% body weight movement, and then a heavy resisted movement, and then an assisted movement.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of want to tap into that power because I've got a lot of strength. My mass is at a pretty good spot, but I still need to tap into that power, just kind of link the strength and the speed. And I think that French contrast is going to do that for me. We're going to lighten up over the next couple weeks. So basically, when I get to Japan and then leading up to the actual prelim, we'll lighten up the load and try to recover a little bit.
Okay.
So still lifting heavy, but this is the tail end of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. And so frequency wise, what are you looking at? Because I mean, you were training. What are you normally doing? You doing 5 days a week?
4 days a week
4 days?
in the
Okay.
fall. Yeah. So, but normally, like as soon as we get out of the fall training, it's 3 days a week,
Okay.
and we just split it different ways. So now it's a heavy day on Monday, um, and then dynamic on Wednesday and Friday.
Okay. Okay. And it's paying off, right? So that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. So goals with Tokyo. What do you look into? Unless this is something that you're just like, I'm gonna let it go and I'm gonna just put 100% in every single thing I go. Are you
and
trying
and
to?
and that's the mindset. Just go after it.
Yeah.
Obviously, making the final puts me in a position to do something big. So the prelim is a competition where you only get three throws. There's no final on the prelim day. So we
Okay.
go on August 3rd, three throws, and whatever they tell you you have to hit, you have to hit. So when I went to the World Championships in 2019, they told us you have to throw 20 meters 90, which is a huge throw.
Hmm.
But they're like, do it in three throws or you're out of the comp. So in the second throw, I threw 2094, made the final, and then placed eighth overall. So the Olympics is going to be the same thing. I just think that mark is going to be a little bit farther. So they might even say throw 21 in three throws. You never know.
Okay.
So my goal is, first of all, go day by day. And whatever they tell us to throw, if we have to throw 21 to make the final, throw 21:01 or better. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Give myself a chance to make that final and do some damage on that on the final day. So I'm taking it one step at a time. I don't really want to put extra pressure on myself. The
Right.
Olympics is pressure in and of itself.
Right.
So,
Of course. Of course.
but yeah, that's a big goal. Make that final.
Okay. So we talked about this. You brought this up a little bit because obviously you were saying how like they honored your qualifications or anybody's qualifications prior to COVID and stuff like that.
Yep.
But because they pushed it back, and I think we talked about this last time too, they allowed for more people to qualify, correct?
Um,
Or no?
so kind of.
Okay.
So the thing is, they take 32 people, and at the point where the COVID broke out, I think there was only like maybe 17 of us qualified.
Okay.
So they still had to fill the field up to 32, and so they're still going to have that same cutoff of 32 people on the field. But yeah. So and at the same time, they're not going to penalize people that qualified on time.
Okay.
So you can't punish us for making it, like making the standard in time for 2020, and only recognize the people that make it in time for 2021.
Right, right.
So I think the way they did it to where the qualification period is now 18 months when you factor in everything.
Mhm.
I think that's fair for everybody. So those of us that made it in 19, we still get the benefit, and those that made it in 21, and you never know their COVID situation, they also get honored.
Okay. Cool. So do you have any buddies that you kind of like know on the international level that are from like other countries that you guys kind of, like jostle each other a little bit, maybe tap your shoes and get in your troubles, get in your ears a little bit when you're getting to throw? Do you guys mess around with each other like you guys used to do back in the
You
day or
know,
what? Like,
the the thing is, I find that happens too much.
really?
There's a little bit, yeah, yeah. Nowadays, and I think it's because shot putters don't get a lot of attention, or
Mm,
throwers. So there's just like a lot of chatter, like in the tent when we're waiting and stuff. And I actually talked to some of my buddies over in Hungary and Poland. I'm like, the talk is just like extra. Now it doesn't get to me because
yeah.
I'm seasoned on the field now. I've been at it for 5 years out of college, but it's like, I don't know. Sometimes they don't approach it, like a comp,
Yeah.
unless it's like the world champs or something. But I'm like, if you're overseas, you've flown 10 hours, over the Atlantic Ocean, like you're there for six hard throws. Take six hard throws without the small talk. It's just kind of
Yeah.
how I look at it.
Yeah. You're
And
already
the funny,
irritable, like,
right, right. And the thing is, like, outside of comp, I'm for sure we'll eat lunch together and we'll do everything. But like in the comp, like just no like extra weird stuff. The only
yeah.
exception is if we're doing like fan service. You want to blow kisses to the crowd and do cartwheels and yell and sign. That's all. That's fine. But like in between competitors, like you got to treat it like it's a comp.
Right, right.
So, but yeah, that's actually a thing that goes on. I don't like it that much. I think some people do, but
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's kind of lame.
How's like the camaraderie? Like, cause you obviously you got the guys from some Poland and Hungary that you're friends with and stuff like that, or you're cordial with, whatever, I don't know the extent of the relationships, but when you guys are out there and stuff like that, like, how's that? How's that? Cause I mean, when I go to weightlifting comps, there's the people that are there that are like, like F off, I don't want to talk to you, don't even look in my direction, like, but then there's the other people that are like, them and they're like, let's go get it, give you a slap on the ass, hit on the shoulder, like, go, let's get it, like, beat my ass, let's go. Like, do you guys
Oh,
have that too?
yeah,
Like,
absolutely. Camaraderie wise, yeah. I mean, we were there in both countries with Tom Walsh. Tom Walsh is one of the best in the world. He's throwing 75 feet, and we talk, just we're friends, I'd say. And then even in the comp, like I cheer him on, he cheer me on, stuff like that. Josh Awatunde was out there from the US, and you know, we didn't really interact much in college, but he came from USC. He's a national champion in the shot put. And then just that week, we're good buddies. So things like that, and it's through the competition. So when it's on topic, that's great. Slap on the back, come on, Chuck, get your head ass, that kind of thing. That's perfectly fine. I love that.
yeah.
Just nothing off topic.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what
yeah.
I mean? But like,
Especially when you're
but yeah,
trying
as
to
far
dial
as
it in.
right, but as far
Yeah.
as like, let's get these throws or let's get the crowd what they want. Oh yeah, I'm all for that, and then we do have that. Even
Okay.
with the guys that don't speak English,
Yeah.
they
They
do
just
their
know the
best.
vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's that part of it's really cool.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. So Tokyo, Japan. This isn't your first time going out there, is it?
that's my first time. Yeah.
What are the plans, man? I mean, besides the Olympics, it's awesome. You guys are gonna have
Well,
Olympic Village. You're gonna have, all these awesome things. But I mean, you're going to, the center of everything that we love. You know what I mean? Like that.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Bad news.
Oh,
We're
so
not allowed to do anything.
no. Oh,
Yeah,
of course,
because
you're
of the
not.
because of the freaking virus. We
Uh,
can't weeb out. We can't go out and watch. We can't see anything. Can't do anything. I got so many landmarks, suggestions, and stuff. I don't even look at them because I know for a fact I can't do anything.
Yeah.
They tell us, they're like, as soon as you get off the airplane, once you're in Japan, stay in your lane, literally stay in your lane, as in don't go to any stores, don't buy a toothbrush, don't buy anything. Come with what you need, and
Wow.
you go straight to the gate for your airplane.
Ah.
Not making this up. When you get there, you're gonna have two apps on your phone. Um, One is tracking your health information. I hope I'm saying this correctly. One's tracking your health information. Another one is like basically you have to have your GPS on, and it's specifically for the Olympics, right? Or participants. That's the athletes and the staff, and they want to maintain social distancing as well as contact tracing.
Okay.
So basically, if somebody tests positive for the virus, they're in quarantine, and anyone else that the app picks up in that radius is in quarantine as well. So they tell you have a 6-foot phone charger. That's a recommendation, because if your phone dies, you're SOL.
Ah.
So it's like prison.
Wow.
You can't do
Wow.
anything.
What about post? Like, if you wanted to go out there and like the competition's done,
Oh,
everything's done. Like, are you gonna stay out there for a couple extra weeks maybe and just be like, don't need the app no more? You know what I mean? Like,
well, Nick, I'm glad you asked that, because there's another part of that story. They tell us as soon as your comp is over, you have 48 hours to leave. Right hand up to God. Yeah. And we don't, so we're going to a camp, and the main reason for that is because we're not allowed to be in there for more than 5 days before your comp. So, and then 5 days before the comp, 2 days after the comp, you got to go.
wow.
Yeah. So I
That's
don't know if this is
so
the Olympics. I think this is like the demo. Like like this is on the eShop, and then you download it, see if you like it, and then see if you'll come back in Paris.
I don't so I don't get that because I know people that have gotten tickets and gone for vacation to Tokyo already. Like, the fact that they're having this massive event, global massive event, that's a represent like this is the world representative of everything that each country stands for at athletic ability, right? Like, this
No
is
doubt.
that showing, right?
Hmm.
And like, I get it, like I do, right? Obviously, I'm not in any way saying I don't,
I,
but
yeah, I get it.
damn, I
Trust me.
just that's crazy. That's
Yeah,
so
and
unfortunate.
it's a lot of stuff at the same time. It's kind of the perfect storm for something like this to happen. Because I know you remember in 2020 when they were saying if they have the Olympics, it's going to be an open event with spectators, and it's going to symbolize a victory over COVID. Obviously, that's out the window. So um, plans have changed, and they only changed like a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
and that's because the situation in Japan is so bad. I was hearing that it was like a whole thing about anti-vaxxers. I don't know how true that is or if it's not, but what I heard from a doctor just yesterday, she has a colleague that's in Japan
Okay.
and was saying that it's just supplies of the vaccine are so low. So like, America has some like lead manufacturing going on like in state, and Japan is just competing with the global supply.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So they're trying to tap into that, and they're just like, at this point, even though it's like I'd say like a year and a half into COVID per se, there's only like 20% vaccination, and I think what they're doing now, um, they're just it's preventative, because
Mhm.
when you figure there's going to be about 15,000 athletes between the Olympics and Paralympics, not including support staff. What they don't want to do is have a mass like super spreader event, and it's not even about Tokyo per se. It's about us going home.
Right, right.
So that's what they're worried about. And I have mixed feelings. I think depending on the day, like sometimes I feel like they're doing too much. Sometimes I feel like we are taking a huge risk.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But here's the thing, like we talked about earlier, and actually that doctor I talked to yesterday totally understands this. We're working for 5, 10 years. So if they tell us to run through fire, I do it twice
Yeah.
for the Olympics.
Yeah.
So I'm the guy that's wearing my mask. I'm washing my hands. I'm social distancing.
Mhm.
But as far as the Olympics, yeah, worth it.
Yeah.
it's worth it. You know,
Yeah, you're
I'm
not
not
there
gonna
for
say
vacation.
COVID's
Yeah, you're not there for
right,
vacation,
right,
right? Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So I got two questions that I picked out of the bunch that some interesting questions. One of these I never even thought of. I mean, like you know how there's elite clubs and training groups and stuff like that. So I wanted to know if you would ever consider joining one of these elite training groups, something like Ryan Whitting has and stuff like that. Um,
Hmm, that's interesting. You know, Ryan. I'm friendly with Ryan, and he actually reached out to me. The thing is, I'm pretty much set in Indiana, and he's over in Arizona.
right.
So his group is called Desert High Performance. Buddies with all those guys. I went to not went to school, but in high school competed with Darrell Hill, one of the best in America, one of the best in the world. Nick Scarvelis is part of it. Nick Ponzio is part of it. Also, um, Scarvelis was an Olympian for Greece, actually, 2016, and Ponzio is qualified for Italy. So all those guys are in that group. It's an elite group. Um, Everyone is over 21 meters, just like a solid group. I'd like to do it, but geographically,
Yeah.
that's a hard move.
It's a long
That'd
commute.
be a
That's
hard.
a long commute. Yeah.
Yeah. So now, what I would like to do though is like, 'cause I had a comp in Arizona actually this past season. I'd like to go in and like do camps, and I
Yeah.
think Ryan's open to that. So that'd be great. Just being around some high level guys, and just that
100%.
that environment's great.
I mean, because that could even be something that could go both ways, right? Like they could even pick up and come out to Purdue if Purdue allows for you guys to be able to do stuff too, and then back and forth
the,
too.
the thing is, about that, I think it's a one way street because you're not going to trade Tempe, Arizona weather for
Oh
West
no,
Lafayette weather. You just don't do that.
no. I
In
mean,
fact, I
I don't
think
know
the
about
first
you, but
time
I ain't throwing in -40. Let me tell you,
I had to throw in some 30-degree weather this
dude.
past
Bless you, my friend.
lockdown.
Bless you, my friend.
I think the first time Ryan hit me up about that was I think 2018, and I was practicing in like April. It's supposed to be warm by then, and it was like 11 degrees. So I put a video of myself throwing indoors, and he's like, "Come to the dark side." And I'm like, I'm so tempted right now to do that.
Yeah. Even to be able to just like get out there for a couple weeks at a time, like you said, like the camps and
Yeah.
stuff like that. That's
Hmm.
a completely different game. And now you know why a
Yeah.
lot of guys go down south and out west. Like
Absolutely.
I mean, you
Absolutely.
see that with, I mean, even football teams. I mean, not to say that like Purdue football or, Wisconsin or any of those guys are I mean, they're top tier, right? But the
Yeah.
ability to have outdoor facilities at all times is a completely
That is
different game. It
It's a
really
huge
is.
advantage. Huge advantage. And we see it with throwing, we see it with sprints. A lot of times, like the athletes that come from warmer areas to up north or northeast, like they get injured
Hmm.
or they run slower, and it takes them a period of a year or 2 years to get adjusted to the new climate. So it's a great point, honestly. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of athletic success in the South and not West, and it's for that reason.
I mean, there's people I know families that have like picked up and just left because their kid had one doctor or one coach was like, "This kid has potential, get them out of here," and literally picked up their whole lives and moved to like a school that would take them and be like, "Make this kid a pro." It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's
And
true. That's real talk. Yeah.
yeah, and right now too, like I mean, it's crazy to see this. Like I don't know if it was the same for you because I mean we're the same age, but remember growing up when we were still on the back end of like all of our parents being like, "You got to do this sport and this sport and this sport and then like do as much as you can." And now it's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, you like baseball? Here's a personal coach. Here's a hitting coach. Here's a pitching coach. Here's a throwing coach. Here's a strength
Yeah.
coach. Here's your AT. Here's a massage therapist." Like it's like they just everything is so specific, and it's just like
Mhm.
it's cool because we're getting
Yeah.
like the art of sport
Phenoms. Yeah.
is completely changing because these kids are doing things from zero. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like it's crazy, but I don't know, man. I don't know about you, but my bank account can't afford that. So I don't know about you, but
Right. Right. I don't think that's a worthwhile investment,
yeah,
honestly.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
hey, if they pick it up and run, you support it. But I
Oh,
don't.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, what weightlifting movement has improved your shot the most? Do you think?
It's two. Clean high pull, and that's and you've seen me do that. But like you basically pull from position 1 or 2, and you just get it up to your chest to where you would do a hang clean, but you don't do the clean part of it. I love those, and sometimes I go super heavy. Sometimes I go for speed. Once in a while, I'll put a tendo on it and see
Hmm.
how fast the bar is moving. But that's as close to a total body movement as possible. Your arms aren't really doing that much work, but you do have to, continue the acceleration upwards. Your legs are most of it, triple extension, ankles, knees, hips, back. Your traps are involved in it, core stability. So clean high pull. I feel like if anybody can pull really heavy and move that bar for a long range, you have some athletic ability. Like there's no way you'll be a good clean puller per se, and not a good athlete or not a good strength athlete. The other one is behind the neck push press. I've started doing jerks recently though, and I think those are beneficial. But just bullying, turn to kilos above your head,
Hmm.
extend those hips and then continue with the shoulder press part of it. I think that's very transferable to shot put,
You said
and it
200
helps.
kilos like so casual. I fucking love it.
I might have that on my Instagram.
You
I
hunt, you
think I
got
do.
to. If you don't, send it.
Yeah, I think I do. Or I'll just go do it real quick and then record it and
Yeah,
put it
yeah,
up.
keep the shirt on.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. but yeah, I'll work out in this. I guarantee it. But yeah, those are the two movements. So I like behind neck push press. Um, and my best is 225. And but I've also gone high volume with high weight, like
Hmm.
180 for a set of 5,
Hmm.
and with no blocks or boxes or anything. I literally just do a negative and then go into the next one.
Stud. Yep.
So yeah, those two, because Purdue didn't have boxes, uh, so no secret there. But yeah, those are the two lifts that are the best for my throwing.
Okay. All right. Um, to go off of that, what would you think for? And this is a really hard question. The question is kind of like don't know where to go. Like they're in a position where they don't have a coach and they don't have a place to really train or a support system where they could do that. So they're going to end up having to go to either a CrossFit gym or a weightlifting club or something like that. And like programming for themselves, how would you suggest to kind of organize that out, right? Because I mean, it's tough when you're doing something that's so skill based like throwing, where there's a lot of training that is specific to that, and you have to spend a good amount of time doing that. And obviously, the weight room is supplementary to that. So
Mm,
they're going to be at different times with a good amount of break in between for recovery purposes and all those kinds of things. But like,
yeah.
how would you suggest to structure training where when it comes to, weight room throwing, someone that's kind of on their own now?
Yeah, and it depends on their skill level, their
Mhm.
age. So if I'm talking to a young kid, so I do some personal coaching right now, and if I'm talking to a young kid, I only care about what's going on in the ring for now, because like I'm working with a couple 13-year-olds, and to be honest, they're not as anabolic as they're going to be in the next 3 4 years. So
Mhm.
if anything, stay safe and focus on the movements, because things like turning that foot are very unnatural. So get used to those movements, get used to the fundamentals, how to hold the ball, how to lead and extend with the hip as opposed to leading with the upper body, stuff like that. I think the fundamental movements, the movement patterns, those are what you ingrain in a young athlete. And if they want to lift, they can go lift. If I'm talking to a high schooler, that's when they're throwing the 12-pound ball instead of the 8-pound ball. It's a little bit more strength and conditioning reliant at that point. Yeah, then they need at least a basic program. Get the big three: bench press, deadlift, squat, lift at least a couple times a week, 3 times a week, and I would also at that age keep them away from max movements.
Mhm.
So, don't do a 1 rep max in the squat. It's too dangerous. Your form will probably break down because chances are you haven't been doing it for 5 10 years. So things like that, just keep it at some decent rep ranges. 5 by 5 is easy to start with.
And especially if you're by
So
yourself. I'm just gonna chime in as a
right,
coach there too, right? Like he's not saying
absolutely,
like there's not a place for it. It's just the fact that you don't have somebody there that can truly be like, that's a max, move the fuck on. Like there's a very
exactly,
different mindset when you're training by yourself because I mean, if you're training for throwing, you gotta remember that's where you're going for. So I didn't mean to cut you
exactly.
off, but
No,
Uh,
but great, exactly. Great point. Safety first. So you have to know why you're in the weight room in the first place. So yeah, we keep it simple, but keep just tap into their athletic ability, keep them safe, and keep them progressing. And then if you're talking about a college athlete, that's where it gets tricky. Now you're throwing the 16-pound ball. Um, you have to have a good program at this point. So my advice would be to reach out to somebody, reach out to a coach, maybe fork over those few dollars, pay for a program because it's one of those, it's kind of a niche sport where you kind of can't just skate by.
mhm.
And just, if anything, watch some videos. There's tons of tutorials, there's tons of material on social media, and get at least a decent program because, throwing a 2 kilo discus or a 16-pound hammer or an 800-gram javelin is like, it's not something you can just kind of wing.
Yeah.
You know,
Trust me,
such
I've
a weird
tried.
event.
I've tried. I've tried. I still can't figure out discus. It fucking originated in my country, still have no idea how it works. I've never been able to do it, man. Never, no idea. That's a completely different animal.
That's why I don't do it. It's too hard.
You ever
I'd rather throw
think
the shot put.
you ever think about going back to hammer at all? Like in comp?
Oh yeah, I do. I do think about it. I know I can't because the level of talent you have to have these days, like you have to be really, really good at one or
Mm,
the other. Back in the day, you could, maybe get paid twice. You go to,
mm.
do two events in one track meet, and that's how a lot of guys made money. There was a lot of like shot put discus guys, but people are throwing so far these days, like you kind of can't hack it. So I can't be like a 20-meter guy throwing 70. I have
Mm.
to be in a hammer. I have to be 21, 22 in a shot put, or 75, 80 in a hammer.
Right,
There's no juggling anymore. So,
right.
but I do think it looks fun. So like I think about it all the time. Like I wouldn't throw a 16-pound because it's too hard on the body.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd probably throw like a 13, like what they throw like a under 20.
Okay.
That's like a 6 kilo, and just give it a whirl. But I wouldn't do that right now. Like I think as soon as the games is over, like I might just go out and throw a little bit of hammer just for fun.
Just mess around a
I
little
think
bit.
I could still get over 70 meters. I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny, man. I was looking at I was Googling you for some reason. I forget what I was looking up for you, but I was looking at some stuff and they always have the same like 6 pictures of you, right? Where it's like
Yeah,
you with the hammer in high school like this, and you're
yeah,
like so much leaner and like your
mhm.
mass is so like I don't know what you weighed on during that time compared to now. But that photo and then it's you like that looking over, you know what I'm talking about, right? And it's
Yeah.
those two, and I'm like, man, if people looked at just those two photos, they'd be like, what the fuck happened to this dude, right? Like, it's crazy because that's what you when you got to Purdue, you were still pretty
Yeah, I
lean, right?
was.
You were on the smaller side comparatively, right?
Yeah, 220.
Yeah, 220. That's
Yeah,
you were carrying 220 well, my friend. That
yeah,
was. What are you now?
280.
28? Are you really?
Yeah, yeah. That's what I got to 280 in 2018 and just stayed there.
Yeah, you were happy with it. You're happy with that
Yeah.
weight. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, man. Right. Anything else? Anything else you want to talk about? Bring up? Let people know information about the Olympics. When can people like kind of? I mean, if you don't know, and it's easy to look up, it's the Olympics. But when are you throwing? When's your time slot? When can people see you? All that kind of stuff.
The specific time I haven't seen really kind of doesn't matter because Japan is 13 hours ahead anyway.
Right.
So like what I say would be different than what you guys would see over here. So, but my prelim day is on August 3rd, and then the finals is August 5th.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. And
So
how is there any way for people to support you and be able to get you? Anything? I know Velasa
yeah.
has the shirts going. I don't know how long that's happening and stuff like that.
hmm
So
And then also, I have another shirt that my girlfriend and some of her hometown people are putting together.
okay.
Um, it's not on my Instagram because I kind of can't advertise stuff during this period,
Okay.
but it's on her Instagram. Um, what's her Instagram? I think it's my name's Chelsea.
Okay.
It's my name SCHELSIEMEEKS.
Okay.
And you can see that design, or I think it's shared on my Facebook as well. So you can go and see that, and just buy a shirt. I get a few dollars from the proceeds to support my Olympic journey,
All right.
which is here.
It's it, baby. It's it. A couple
Yeah.
weeks away, man. Listen, super stoked for you. Super, super happy for you. And man, I can't wait to watch this and see where you go with this, because I still think this is just the beginning, man. I know you said 28, maybe another one, but the way you're
I
moving
hope
and the
so.
way you always move, especially with the recovery on the up, we're
Yeah,
gonna see some shit, baby. We're gonna see some shit. So,
I hope so. I hope so.
all right,
Yeah.
man.
I'm
Well,
excited.
should be. You should be, and so are we. So
Yeah.
appreciate you so much for coming. Everybody, go check out the shirts. Velasa has some shirts up there as well. I've already gotten a
Yep.
couple. Go help
Appreciate
him
it.
out. Send him some stuff. Send him some love, and get some eyes. They can find you at I'm Chuck. Is that what it was? Is
No, the Chuck says.
the Chuck
So
says?
TH. Yes, sir.
You think I'd know that by now, like 100%. The amount of time I talk to you on there.
Well, you should. Yeah, you
I'm
know.
editing this out. That's it.
But yeah, the Chuck says TheChukays. That's the same on Instagram, and I have a TikTok now. I
Oh.
don't love TikTok, but I feel like I need one.
Yeah, right.
And
Yeah.
same as Twitter. So
All right. Cool. Go check him out. Give him the follows. Give him the love. Chuck,
I
appreciate you
it.
so much. Hopefully we can get you back on after, and we'll get a full review of your full
Yeah,
experience. That'd be awesome, man.
I'd love to.
All right, man.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having
you.
me.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Yeah.
See you guys. Be healthy. Stay healthy. Keep lifting each other. And we will see you guys next time.